A partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is
Yeah.
being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro.
Yeah, you're
It's
just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
That just we are the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, which I know many, they're irrelevant.
Good morning, Misfits. All right, I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. I definitely 100% am hungover. For the first time, really, in 2026. I went out last night. My buddy who did not make it to the Texas training event, which we're going to talk about, he was like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. Can I make it up to you? Let's go out." No, but here's what he does. Okay, this is the best, and I knew it, but you know how you lie to yourself internally. He was like, "I gotta be up. So I'm out at 9 tonight. We'll do the real celebration later. I gotta be up. I'm out at 9 p.m. And I go, absolutely, this sounds like a great idea. I still took an Uber. Because I know my friend. I know my friend better than anyone on the planet. And I was like, he's gonna give me shots. He's gonna do it. That son of a biscuit eating bulldog. Anyway, so I woke up this morning, and you know how you do the oh no, right? The sirens just went off, right? Like we're being invaded by Japan. That's what I did this morning. I was like, oh no, all right, wait, hold on, wait, oh okay, it's still 6:30. How's everybody doing today? Let's get the chat up. Yeah, you know what? It's fun every once in a while. So I don't know if you're a P1, if you watch the show a lot, but we did dry 90. We did no booze, no bread, 90 days for the first quarter of the year. And so this is my first hangover, I guess. I guess it's a hangover. It's probably a hangover in 2026. All right, Eileen Jimenez, Kittenhead, Amanda Collins, great guy Gary, God Chick. So you were out partying? Yes, I was, and I have video evidence that I was partaking in the devil's juice boxes. Okay, hold on. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, you know what? Screw it. Let's go. Let's go right now. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a second. First, Godchick, thank you very much for watch every day, but not always in the chat. Well, welcome to the chat. The chat's the funnest place to be on the internet. It's the best place. So, we're doing 2A Thursday because I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. Hold on. Yes. Yeah, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. Yay. We have a theme of the show on the Daily Breakdown, okay? And Thursdays is 2A Thursdays, okay? So if you look here on the screen, if you're listening on audio, I will describe it for you, right? Our producer, Eli, is the best at thumbnails. Seriously, let me know if you need to hire him. I will lend him out, all right? So if you guys haven't seen the video of Sneeko, I don't know if you know who Sneeko is, but he's a streamer, a Kick. Is it called Kick or Twitch? Who cares? He does streaming, and apparently he has a lot of streamers. Right, so he's walking through the streets of New York City, and I'll show you the video in a bit. But he's literally like staring down, looking at his phone. He's literally like glued to his phone. And I have a couple videos I'm going to show you about this, right? But the main one is the video I made yesterday when I was walking my dog. And I posted that because you don't need to be a streamer. You don't need to be controversial. You don't need to be hated by a bunch of people on the internet. You don't have to have stalkers, doxers. You don't need to be somebody that has threats against them. Are we following? In order to realize you probably shouldn't walk down the street looking at your phone in 2026. And like, what do I mean by that, right? Like, oh, well, what if my friend texts me? Okay, look at your phone, look back up. We've seen the videos of the people that play, the knockout game, right? The knockout game is when stupid kids, they're like, hey, that person's not paying attention, go knock them out, all right? And then you catch her, right? We've seen the crazy people, especially in, Democrat-run cities, these leftists, the warm embrace of collectivism, as Zohran Mamdani calls it, right? The warm embrace of collectivism is collectively, right? The city will decide that we need to put enough homeless people in here where you may just get absolutely rocked while you're, checking your Twitter or responding to a text. So anyway, long story short, Sneeko, this streamer, he got his ass knocked out. He got knocked. Well, I don't know if he got completely knocked out. He got his teeth knocked in, literally. And it's funny that this happened this week because we just finished up our Texas firearm training event where the people over at Sheepdog, Justin, the first day of this firearms training, we didn't do firearms, right? We sat in a classroom and we did 2 hours of situational awareness, 2 hours of Q&A, watching videos, going through the color codes of threat assessment. And you guys might not know what I'm talking about there, but there's different levels of threat assessment when you're out in the world where you want to check your surroundings, check your settings, and address threats. So we'll go over some of this. But while I don't condone Sneeko getting punched in the face by some random guy, it's his fault, right? It is, right? This would have never happened to me, right? You are never going to catch me off guard like that, where I will be punched in the face while I am reading, I'm reading the live chat right now. Okay, like, look, let's go back to this. Right now, my attention is focused completely on the live chat. All right, we have CQ, CC Jack, Eileen Jimenez, Amanda Collins, T Hodges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. My front door is locked, double locked. I have the alarm set. I have a firearm that I can't put on screen because YouTube will ban me right next to me. But that's when I'm reading the chat, right? I'm reading the chat when I'm in my car. I'm reading the chat when I am basically just in the white, right? That's the color code for threat level low. So we're going to get to that because here's the deal, right? I need to prepare you for the war, right? We're in a war. No, I'm not talking about the one in Iran. I'm not talking about Israel. I'm not talking about China. I'm not talking about any of that, right? We're in a war. There's an actual war going on right now. It's been going on for a very long time. The Civil War started, and some of you didn't even realize you got drafted. It's a war of words. The war of words has been going on for a long time, right? And I need to equip you with the ammo that you use to fight that war. However, what do I say all the time? the internet's not real life, but it affects real life, right? Tyler Robinson, the guy that killed Charlie Kirk, you think he would have done that if he didn't use the internet? You think he would have killed Charlie Kirk if he didn't have a social media account? Nah. It's not even a question, right? He wouldn't have known who Charlie Kirk was, or maybe he would have just seen some guy that was coming to the campus of his school, never had any predetermined biases for Charlie Kirk, and he would have listened to him. Right? That's the difference between the internet and real life. What you see on here is not necessarily real life, but people make decisions based on what they see on here. And sometimes that decision is, unfortunately, go get your grandfather's gun and sit on the rooftop of a building and take out the Nazi. That's what they think of Charlie Kirk. They think he's a Nazi. Or even still, sometimes the decision is, you're walking down the street, you live in New York, you've seen Sneako's content. And by the way, I don't know for a fact that the guy that punched Sneako was maybe like, I don't know, pro-Israel or whatever. I don't know, right? I don't know why he punched him. But let's just make an assumption, okay? Let's assume that this guy in the red shirt and the beanie punched Sneako because of what he says online, right? You think he would have punched him if he wasn't on the internet? No. Right? So it's not real life, it affects real life. That's the takeaway from here. So we're going to get to situational awareness. We're going to get to everything that we, not everything, but we're going to get to a lot of what we covered in the firearms training. We're going to have a guest on here, Josh, great guy. He came to the training event, but he couldn't make it. So we'll get him on next week. I also want to get Justin, the guy who actually put the event on here for a 2A Thursday. And he said he's down, but it's probably going to be a week or two of that. So, but we will get these people on here so I can prepare you as best that I can for the war in the streets, which will happen eventually, one time in your life, right? Like, you will be faced with a situation where you have to decide, run, hide, fight. Okay. And that's a reality that you have to live with. All right. Oh, I just saw, hold on. Somebody in the chat. I just saw a random convo you had, I just saw a convo you had about a random person on X about Tucker. You guys want some funny, you want some drunk Zach content? Let's do it. Actually, this will be funny. This will be a little timeline cleanse. Before we get into the daily breakdown, to prove that I was definitely inebriated last night, this is not a random person. This is my buddy. So this is me last night. This is my buddy who does not know how to say no to a shot. I am a little...
a year ago.
I'm a little toasted right here, but it's actually, this is a funny conversation. So, the little backstory, lead up for this. My buddy randomly, somehow, Tucker, or it was actually Candace Owens. My buddy randomly, Candace Owens came up, and he went. And by the way, we're gonna have some language in here. All right, so we have the naughty button, but he was like, "F Candace Owens." Right? And then he goes, and fuck Tucker Carlson. All right. Even when I'm absolutely hammered, right? My conversations are pretty interesting. But here, check this out. And this actually, coincidentally, segues into what we were just talking about, right? The internet is not real life. And this guy, who I love, he's my favorite person on the planet. He does not sit on the internet. He doesn't watch podcasts. He's not really, deep diving into X. He doesn't have an X, but he does have an Instagram, and he follows loosely politics. What do you think he thinks of Tucker Carlson? Somebody who's in real life, right? Somebody who's in the real world. Let's find out. All right.
All right, repeat what you just said to me. Fuck Tucker Carlson. Fuck Candace Owens.
Sorry,
That
I'm
shit
sorry.
is ridiculous, dude. Look at what they're saying. Look at what they said
He's definitely toasted too, by the way. All right, I won't interrupt. Let's go.
a year ago. No, they're dumb.
All right, so you don't follow politics like super like in depth.
No, not super dumb. No.
Okay, and you're not online chronically.
No, gosh, no.
And why
That
do you
shit's
say,
bad for your brain, by the way.
why do you say fuck Tucker Carlson and fuck Candace Owens?
Gosh.
Because you're saying some crazy things, at least from what I have ascertained, from
Okay.
what I have seen.
So what you're saying is that random people that don't actually follow online chronically, like the podcast circuit, they're not looking at them as like in a favorable light.
Yeah.
So when Tucker Carlson is like praising Islam, you're not down with that?
No, I mean, wait, what? Jesus Christ. Gosh, no, I'm not.
So Tucker Carlson just said
sorry.
that America's new civics course is Israelism, which only focuses on the Old Testament, not the New. What do you think of that?
So I'll be honest, I don't know the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Well, so the Old Testament and the New Testament together is the Bible, right?
So the Old Testament would be the Bible, the New Testament is said what?
Well, so the Old Testament is the Bible, the New Testament is the Bible. Both of them together are the Bible. Tucker
Okay.
Carlson thinks that if you believe in Israel, you're only focused on the Old Testament.
Oh, like Israel's like a political standpoint, rather.
Yeah.
Like America gave
And
Israel.
hold on, so you didn't know any of this before we started having this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, of
But
course
you still said fuck Tucker Carlson.
I did. I said
Why?
fuck. I said fuck Tucker Carlson because
His attitude.
No, well, his attitude, and he says some weird shit about aliens and stuff. Like, he's a weird guy. But if we're being honest, yeah, I mean, fuck that guy. You know? Like,
So you're somebody that does not follow politics that well, but fuck Tucker Carlson is your MO. Yeah. That's a little strange because if you listen to Tucker Carlson, he's in the majority.
that's weird. I consider myself a majority. So.
I think you
All right. Yes, you caught you. That is live in 4K. Zach is a happy drunk. I am a happy drunk. All right. Anybody who's an angry drunk shouldn't be drinking. That is a conversation that I've had sober, by the way. That's a conversation I've had with many people, right? Like out in public, because people know that I have a podcast. People know that I have like the Misfit Patriot account. And when, I'm introduced to people, sometimes it'll come up. My friends will be like, oh my God, my friend has a thing. And they'll start talking to me about politics. And I'll ask them, they're like, hey, what do you think of this person? Like nobody knows who Nick Fuentes is. I don't know if you know that. Nobody knows who he is, right? He's not somebody that's well known. And it's probably because he has a lot of, fake engagement, a lot of followers that aren't like real. But it's funny. So that was my buddy. Gosh. So that was my buddy. And I think that he is right. He's in the majority, right? The majority of people, they see crazy person. Let's go to, we're doing ADD today. We're going to go do whatever we want. Tucker Carlson, I think recently, I don't think. He recently posted that there's like this new, I guess you could call it Israelism. Israelism, I think he called it. It's apparently when you only follow the Old Testament, right? And here you go. America's new civic religion is Israelism, which is apparently, according to Tucker, Christianity without the New Testament and its unforgiving faith of all. By the way, don't forget, Don't forget, make sure that you sign up for his sponsors so that he can make money off of this. Who knows what projection means? I'm pretty sure everybody does, right? Projection. And I believe it's straight out of the Communist Manifesto, where the strategy behind Marxists is accuse the others of what you yourself are doing, right? So when I see that, right, when I see Tucker Carlson going, there's this new civic religion, which is Israelism, which is, you know, it's Christianity without the New Testament, right? I've been saying for a while, I think that a lot of people, in fact, I've actually confirmed this in my comment section back and forth with people who follow Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all these people, these I call them Chat GPT Christians. I say, do you think that the Bible for Christians is the New Testament only? And I've had several of them say yes. That's what they think. They think that Christianity is the New Testament. All right. And even my buddy who, like I said, he's not religious, obviously. Obviously. He's like, well, the Old Testament is what? The Old Testament and the New Testament together is the Bible. That's what Christianity is. Right. And I think a lot of people think that, too many people, probably because of people like Tucker Carlson, think that Christianity is Christ, that's what Christianity means. It means follower of Christ. Christianity is the New Testament only because that's the part where Christ comes in. It's not. Judeo-Christian just means Old Testament and New. It does not mean Jew and Christian, right? That's not what it means. Right? It means Judeo, right? From Judea. The Old Testament, which is known as the Torah or the Tanakh in Judaism, right, is the majority. I think it's the majority. It might be slightly. I might be off on that, but it's the first half of the Bible. Let's just call it that. And the New Testament, right, is the continuation of the Torah, the Tanakh. So when you put them together, you have the Bible. The Bible is not the New Testament. It's actually kind of interesting because I was talking about this the other day with where I was describing the Red Green Alliance, the partnership between the Nazis and the Arabs in before it was Israel, not the Ottoman Empire. Either way, long story short, the mandatory Palestine. It's called mandatory Palestine. Right. Hitler had this ideology that he preached. Right. And it was called proper Christian. So everyone says that Hitler was not religious. Yes, he was. He believed in something that he called proper Christianity, which is essentially, it's Christianity without the Old Testament. Right? That's what he believed was the religion that proper Christians should follow. And he was aligning himself with the Arabs, the Islamists, who joined the axis of evil to fight Russia, Soviet Union, France, Great Britain. He said that Islam was a more appealing religion than Christianity. Not proper Christianity, which was what he believed was the New Testament, but what everyone views as Christianity, which is the Old Testament and the New. Anybody see any similarities between what Hitler described as proper Christianity and what we're seeing a lot online, which is, I would say Tucker Carlson's followers, Candace Owens' followers, people who are anti-Jew, anti-Israel, right? The synagogue of Satan, right? That's what they say all the time. Yeah, it's essentially they think that Christianity is the Bible without the Old Testament. So Tucker Carlson, he's projecting, and he thinks that Christianity is just the New Testament only and you can go down the road of why, right? I don't really care about why. I say this all the time, right? We don't really need to know why, but why are they doing this, right? And it's ignorance, right? Whatever. Could be he's being paid by Qatar. Who cares? Doesn't matter. The end result's all the same. But what Tucker Carlson what a lot of people are promoting, all right, is the erasure of the crazy amount of Jews and Judeo ethics in the Judeo-Christian ethic structure in the Bible. Why would they do that? And why would he be projecting that Israel, right, a country that has existed for, I don't know, what is it, like 80 years-ish, right? Why would he be preaching that country is somehow a threat to Christianity? It's not, right? I mean, we got about 3,500 years of archaeological, historical, and biblical text that we can verify based on the teachings of the Bible. But if you erase everything before, if you erase, let's say, Noah, Moses, Abraham, all of the people before, you're left with, all right, the Bible starts 2,026 years ago. Right? It doesn't start 3,500 or 4,000 or 6,000. It doesn't start there. It starts 2,026 years ago. It's 2026. If you believe that, then you're only going to be focusing on the teachings of Christ, which is something you should do. But to contextualize the teachings of Christ, you would need to factor in all the other stuff before it. And that's what's really bugging me about the people that are proselytizing online, right? And I call them Chat GPT Christians, right? These people have, like, I just drove by this church called Christ is King Church, and I was like, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. There's a church in Texas where it's called Christ is King Church, and I was like, they could be perfectly wonderful people in there, but I'm not going in, right? Because the people online have been saying, Christ is King, Christ is King, Christ is King. Those people have shown a exorbitant amount of ignorance when it comes to understanding the Bible. So, sorry, I mean, what is this, 30 minutes? Is this a 30-minute monologue? We just went on a 30-minute monologue. Okay, we're gonna move on. I guess it's it's probably it's a little bit of the hangover. Anyway, let's get into the news. Let's do the news, right? If anybody doesn't know, this is how the Daily Breakdown works. We go on the internet, we type in 4 letters, NEWS, and we break down the news. And apparently it's a very religious day for news, right? We're gonna talk about a lot of theology, a lot of Christianity. And I'm not the best person to do it. Okay, look, you got Jeremy, you got Will, you got all the people on this platform who have a really, I would say, better grasp on the good news. But I am a Christian, and I am obsessed with understanding where I'm at on that. So I think J.D. Vance did a really good job with his, I'd say, like, answer to what's going on with the Pope and with Trump. But we're not going to be able to read this story. Let's look at the headline. Vance says the Pope should be more careful when talking about theology. That's from the New York Times. Let's see if they have no, they don't. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna go to X and watch this, because Vance did an amazing job, actually, at responding to the Pope. Now, a lot of the rhetoric lately is about Trump clapping back at the Pope, and even my buddy last night was like, like I don't like how Trump, posted that meme, what have you. And I was like, yeah, no, I completely understand. I go, but why are we talking about that? But let's see here, Vance, Pope. But JD Vance gave the proper answer.
When the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than a 1,000-year tradition of just war theory. Okay? Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology. And I think that one of these issues here is that there has been, again, hey, random dude screaming, I told you I'd respond to your point. I just want to respond to this question first. But I think one of the issues here is that if you're going to opine on matters of theology, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth. And that's one of the things that I try to do. And it's certainly something I would expect from the clergy, whether they're Catholic or Protestant. Now,
okay, so JD Vance is Catholic. There's a lot of people that have a concern of JD Vance, right? Because of it. Actually, it's ironically because of his proximity to Tucker Carlson, right? Is Tucker Carlson's son is one of JD's staffers, hasn't fired him. A lot of people are calling for his firing. I'm not. But there's a worry. There's a lot of worry about JD Vance because he is a Catholic. Right now, we've seen a lot of, quote, Catholics online who are preaching some version of Christianity that, in Catholics, they don't technically believe in dispensationalism, so they don't think that Israel are God's chosen people. It's kind of true at the same time. The vast majority of Catholics that I know that I've grew up with, I mean, I'm one, they don't have like anti-Semitism. They don't hate Jews. They don't hate Israel. It's more like they just have this. I guess you could say their theological framework exists around the fact that the church, and again, guys, I'm probably not the best person to talk about this, but I'm pretty well educated on this because I educated myself. But essentially, Jesus saying that the church is the new Israel, if that makes sense, right? That's in a dumbed down, very ignorant way of saying it. That's what they believe, essentially, right? It's a little more nuanced, but so. When you say that, right, it's like, oh, so you don't believe that Jews are God's chosen people? It's like, okay, so this is the same way that people argue that the Jews reject Jesus, and it's like, kind of, like, yeah, okay, kind of. I can disagree with that. Where if you don't believe that Jesus is God, then obviously you're just not a Christian, unless you're a Messianic Jew. But that doesn't mean they hate, and that doesn't mean that they're anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, etc., anti-anything. Right? It's like 70% of the world doesn't believe that Jesus is God. Like, that's hard facts. So 70% of the people living on the planet, whether they're atheist, Buddhist, Muslim, just any other religion, right, secular, whatever, don't believe that Jesus is God. Like, only 30% of the world is Christian. So why is everybody focusing on 0.02% of the population, which is the Jews? Or why is everybody focused on 16 million people from Israel? That's weird, right? You have this 70% figure who technically rejects Jesus, especially Muslims. That would be the biggest one, as far as religion. But they focus on the Jews because, well, it's easy. It's easy to blame the Jews. And Jesus is the Son of God. He's also God. And somebody in the chat goes, Jesus is the Son of God. Yes, he's also God. I've seen Muslims argue that Christians believe in 3 gods, right? It's like, no, just one. Who was God before Jesus? Let's get this person. Is this a troll, a hater? Who was God before Jesus? Well, what do you mean by that? Like, who was God before Jesus? God is God. Do I need to explain the Trinity? Do we want to do do we want to make this whole show about theology? We can. All right. We're supposed to make it about situational awareness. We'll get to that in about 6 minutes. Who was God before Jesus, right? Well, so to answer that question, right, God has always been God, right? He's omnipotent and he exists like outside of time. So he's God, right? I don't think I need to explain what the word God means, right? But Jesus is the living God because God is God, so he can make a human version of himself. And that's what he wanted to do. That's what he did, right? He made himself in human form. Like, in the way that somebody explained the Trinity is actually it's the best way I've ever heard it analogized, which is the Holy Trinity is like Neapolitan ice cream. Okay, so Neapolitan ice cream, it's chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. It's all ice cream. It's all in the same tub, but it's 3 different flavors. Right, so it's all God. Like ice cream is ice cream. Neapolitan ice cream is Neapolitan ice cream. It's all the same thing, but it's 3 different flavors. It's all the same. I've always read that Jesus is the King of Kings, not God. Okay, so baseball in the chat. You're being serious. You don't know. You should look up the Holy Trinity and how it's described. But no, Jesus is God, right? It's like if God could take a picture of himself and put it on the earth, that's Jesus, right? It's a picture of God visualized. That's kind of what we're talking about. Anyway, I've been going off on a tangent. Like I told you earlier. We went out last night. My brain's a little mushy, but I actually think this is a great discussion. The ADD, sidetrack that I went down. Right? It's a fun show. I talk about theology a lot. I just try not to because I'm not an expert. Let's call it that. All right. So let's get one more headline in before we go to the situational awareness, and we'll talk about the Sneako. Okay, 9 dead, 13 wounded in second Turkish mass shooting in 2 days. Turkey's a hard place, man. 14-year-old boy allegedly used guns belonging to his former police officer father, officials say. 14-year-old boy is dead after allegedly killing 9 people and wounding 13 more at a Turkish middle school Wednesday. According to media and official reports, boy reportedly carried out the violent attack, the second of its kind in as many days in Turkey, with guns belonging to his father. A student came in. So a mass shooting happened in Turkey at a school, apparently. Did they say why? Are they going to blame the guns? What's going on? Turkey has been rocked by 2 mass shootings in 2 days. Okay. Managing so it looks like they don't have a motive or anything yet, but that's strange. I don't know about Turkey's gun policy or their politics or whatever. So, but Turkey does make good guns. Somebody in the chat. Let's get to the daily breakdown. All right, look, check this out. This is, if you haven't seen it. Oh, I thought I saved it. That's fine. If you haven't seen it, Sneako got punched on the street. Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna play this video. I'm gonna play this video a few times actually, because I want you guys to pay attention. We're gonna break this down like as well as we can, right? And I'm not a trainer on this. I'm not somebody that has all the technical definitions, etc. Justin Flood over at Sheepdog Response does, and I highly recommend you take his course. But I'm going to give it to you the layman's version where we're talking about situational awareness, right? So first of all, what is situational awareness? It's just awareness of the situation around you. It's awareness of your surroundings. But take a look at Sneako walking down the street. I believe this is in New York City, which is crazy that you would walk down the street in New York City without looking around you. But take a look at what he's doing and let me know what you see.
Sock? Yeah, you deserve to be publicly executed, yes. What are we talking about? You... What the...
Hey, bro.
Okay. What'd you guys see? Did anybody see Sneako going like this, looking around? No. He was all up in his phone. Here, let's try this again. Let's go frame by frame right here. Okay. This is right here. Where's your periphery? Like, if you're looking at your phone, how much of the outside world do you think you have? All right. It's about 3 feet, right? You have about 3 feet around you when you're staring at your phone. Your phone is 6 inches by 3 inches-ish, right? So you have about a circle, let's call it, around your phone where you can see about 3 feet around it. This guy was outside of that circle, right? He was planning, he was either waiting for him or he might have been, and like I said, I don't know. This guy might have been watching Sneako doing his live stream because that's what these people do. They literally, hold on, full screen here. These people that do Twitch and Kick, whatever, right? They are quite literally live streaming their location, right? They are giving the entire world, right, a Find My app. And they're going, this is exactly where I am, right? This is where I am. I'm here. Okay, so he's live streaming. Now, I don't know if this guy that punched him was watching his live stream. Let's say hypothetically this is what happened. Let's say somebody who does not like Sneako. Let's say somebody who's, really upset about the stuff he says online. Let's say they live in New York. They're watching Sneako. Sneako walks by a building, the laundromat, okay? And they go, I live right next to that laundromat. They can go walk down their front stairs. They can stand where they know Sneako is going to come by, wait, and then when Sneako's standing there like an idiot looking at his phone, quick right. What if he had a gun? Sneako would be dead. I do not want Sneako to die. I do not want anyone to die, right? However, Charlie Kirk had security. Charlie Kirk took precautions. Charlie Kirk wasn't doxing his location weeks before. When they do the Prove Me Wrong debates, they only put them up a day before. They do, pre-sweeps, and we can argue about whether or not they should have covered that roof, which I think they should. But Charlie Kirk wasn't. He took a lot of steps not to get shot. Still got shot. How many steps did Sneako take? Right? None. Literally zero. Because his situational awareness is not even existent. It's not like he lives in the internet. He lives inside his phone. Right? Like, he lives inside his phone. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm like, a lot of people, they live in their phone. I used to be like this, by the way, right? I used to, like, when I was on TikTok a lot, when I was like really in the dopamine, spiral, let's call it. Like, I'd be out with my friends, I'd be looking at my phone, My friends would be talking to me. I'd be looking at my phone. We talked about this last night, me and my buddy. He's like, you're so much different than you used to be. Like, yeah, I snapped out of it. But if Sneako is literally kind of like doxing himself, posting online, and then on top of that, looking at his phone, he's putting it all, if he got shot, which I don't want to happen, 100% his fault. Right? He would literally be responsible for his own death. Obviously, yes, the person who would have shot him would be, guilty of shooting him and being a horrible person. But it would be like, all right, let's say you're drinking and driving, right? Let's say you're drinking and driving, you're absolutely hammered, you're driving down the street, and somebody else runs a red light because they're texting on their phone and they crash into you. And you could have avoided it if you weren't drinking and driving, because you would have had more situational awareness, right? Whose fault is it, right? Is it the person who ran the red light and crashed into you, or is it your fault? The answer is both, right? The answer is both. It's if Sneako, well, actually, let's not go down this dark road. Let's just say Sneako got punched because Sneako's an idiot who wasn't looking around, right? So we don't have to go down the death route. This happened because Sneako was not paying attention. All right, so hold on. Let's put this back on the screen. This right here, he's about to get punched, right? I'm not trying to laugh at him because this is serious. This is educational for you. This isn't me making fun of Sneako. He's just the example, right? Right here. That is a wind up, right? This guy has his hand all the way wound up behind his body. This is the first step in a knockout, right? The Sneako, look at how close. Look at how close this guy is to Sneako. He still has no idea he's about to get hit. No idea. Right? Hold on. Let's go right. Hold on, right here. Okay. Does Sneako have any idea he's about to be punched? No. That guy's fist is 6 inches from his face. He has no idea he's about to be punched because he's reading a freaking comment. Right? He's... Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. This is the prime example of a lack of situational awareness. I know you guys want to see it, so we'll play it. Here we go. One more time. By the way, there are people that say this was staged. It wasn't. This was not staged, right? And I'll tell you how I know. Right here. Right here. That's not staged, right? Nobody, and I mean nobody on the planet, right, is ever going to go to a person and say, I'm going to walk down the street and I want you to punch me, okay? I want you to attack me because let's say he wants to garner sympathy or something. Let's say like he staged it for a multitude of reasons, for clicks, whatever. Nobody, 100% of people would not do this. They wouldn't flinch.
When the Pope says
what the hell just happened?
God is never on the side of those who will.
They would not flinch, right? He did not. It wasn't a very good punch. Somebody in the chat, it wasn't a very good punch. Correct, right? If Sneako staged this, he would subconsciously flinch. He would have to flinch because he would be like, I'm about to get punched. Nobody is like that sociopathic where they wouldn't be able to like not like do this, like, ugh, right? He got rocked. He had absolutely no idea it was coming. That was not staged. All right. So we were talking about this in the training, right? Where it's like, okay, so women have a higher threshold for this, where situational awareness, and it's because they perceive threats, because there are a lot of threats to women. I mean, like, you know, like, think about it. It's like, especially like hot women, like good-looking women, right? And the irony is that women have a higher perception of threats, yet they are worse at situational awareness. Why is that? This is gonna blow your mind, right? But women, especially good-looking women, have a higher perception of threats, which means they are aware that threats are around them, but they have worse situational awareness, right? Like, why would that happen, right? Like, let's say a good-looking woman, right, walking down the grocery store aisle. Let's say they look up, right, and they make eye contact with another man, right? Like, let's say, or another man, a man, right? Let's say they make eye contact with a man. What do you think would, in their mind, what are they avoiding, right? What are they avoiding where they wouldn't want to make eye contact with a man? A conversation. They're so sick of getting hit on, right? They don't want guys coming up and being like, she looked at me, I'm gonna go shoot my shot, right? So they intentionally disregard the natural predatory instinct that they have, and they look down a lot more than men. Even though they have the higher perception of a threat, they don't look around and they don't acknowledge their surroundings because they don't want to be approached. So that's, and these are things that, you know, you guys should understand, because there are a lot of women in this chat. There are a lot of women watching this, right, who are probably walking down the street, avoiding eye contact because they don't want to get hit on, right, or something like that, right? No, you should risk it, right? You should risk it. You should be looking around all the time, especially when you're out in public, right? And you should be clocking potential threats. If some guy comes up to you, right, like, give him the shit face, right? Give him the fucking no. We know, right? Trust me. Look, as a guy, I can speak for all guys. We know when you are giving us the come over and talk to me vibe versus the I just want to make sure you're not a rapist vibe, right? Trust me. We know. We're not coming up to you. And if we do, just go, fuck off, dude. Right? Like, just, it's, sorry.
I don't know why you got to do it.
Be
in front
rude.
of the kid with the effing.
Be rude. It's fine. You know, and in the training, by the way, let's see if we can, I don't know if Sheepdog has an X. Let's go to Instagram. Let's see if we can go to Instagram and see if they posted any videos here. But the training, by the way, in conjunction with situational awareness, you should also, I would hope everybody understands this by now if you're watching this show, you should also be learning how to use a firearm and how to defend yourself in case there ever is a situation. Let's see, is this, I believe this is March 15th. No, that's not from ours. Yeah, their story. I was on their story, but the stuff you're seeing here with like lying on the ground, what have you. This is Justin, by the way. We're gonna have him on the show. It looks intimidating, right? But I'm telling you, this training, it's really for everybody, and you don't have to go to Fort Worth, Texas. There's places that have this probably within 30 minutes of you, right? There's always somebody who's putting on some type of training course. In worst case scenario, you can take the EDC course, right, or the firearms training course, which is put on by law enforcement. Where if you and this is pretty much in every, I would say almost every major FFL, every firearms dealer who's big enough will have a concealed carry course, or even just like a permit course, where they will at least teach you firearm safety. They will teach you how to use a weapon, how to store a weapon, et cetera, et cetera. Like the ones that Sheepdog does, these are next level courses. This is like the elite training that you're going to be able to take advantage of. And if you want to, we're going to try to put this on again. We were at the same place right here. You see the targets in the background. We were doing the Mozambique, which is 2 of the body, 1 of the head. We're doing draw and fire drills. We're doing behind barrier drills. We're doing a lot of stuff. And this was like 8 hours of hardcore training. And I would recommend doing that, but you also can literally just get a laser training system like a Mantis. You can practice in your home. You can practice situational awareness every single day. Like situational awareness is something that you can literally train yourself through repetition of just constantly reminding yourself. Like if you're outside, and by the way, it helps. I'm not recommending this. I'm definitely not recommending this. This is the worst advice ever. Getting a lot of death threats helps, right? Getting a lot of death threats is a great way to improve your situational awareness, because I get them all the time. So I'm constantly aware that one of these people might actually follow through. What are the names of the tobacco pouches? Okay, we can do a impromptu right before we get out of here. It's 8:59, so we are about to head over to Ungoverned. But in the chat, we had somebody ask about the pouches, patriotpouch.com, right? They better appreciate this, because this is an extra promo. Patriotpouch.com, nicotine-like ritual that gives you a buzz you expect, powered by better ingredients, American values with fewer downsides, made in the USA. Go to patriotpouch.com and use the code MISFIT10 at checkout for 10% off. All right. Sean is coming up next with Ungoverned. I made it through my first hangover of the year, hopefully my last. I'm definitely taking it easy on the boozing. But we all have a birthday. It's once a year. We get to party. We get to celebrate. And the consequences are I am going to hit my sauna real quick, sweat all this out, and go to work for 8 hours. But it's One Sandman, Kit Kat Mar, C. Michaels, T. Hodges, Mutt Mom. All right, it's 9 o'clock. You guys have a good time over with Sean. I will see you tomorrow for Fan Mail Friday, my favorite day of the week. See you later.
A partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
that just we are the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, of which I know many, they're irrelevant.